Alright, so new patch is here and it comes with some fancy weapons, namely the DB12 and the 357. Good news is, one of them is actually useful. The other, well, let's just say I'm angry about the time that I've spent leveling it up. So let's get into it, shall we? Why don't we just go ahead and get the salt out of the way early? The DB12. Let me be abundantly clear here. I cannot think of a single use case scenario for this weapon outside of the pump, the XM, or even the Saiga. On paper, yeah, if you look at it, it would have a little bit longer range. Like here, let's go to the firing range real quick. Up close, sure, you're going to get the double tap out to like 10 meters, right? Now, if you go out to 20, you're looking at least 3 shots. The problem I have with this weapon is that it completely fails to perform in the way that you expect when you use a shotgun. The point of a shotgun in FPS games is to be a point and delete weapon. The time to kill being effectively non-existent is the reason you use it. Time to kill variance here, because you do have to double click, is negligible. However, with all of the other weapons in the game that have exceptionally short times to kill, looking at you, SCW-10, SG553, TR7, a couple others, right? You're talking about sub 200 millisecond time to kills. So realistically, even though you do have that double tap quite quickly, which is effectively the same fire rate as the Saiga, you're not going to compete with those weapons. And that's assuming you hit all your pellets. So this hipfire reticle you can see on screen right now, that's after stacking all of the attachments on it that I have to make it not suck, or at least in this case, suck less. If you insist on using the DB12 because you hate consistency and need to make up for sins in a past life, here's what I would recommend. I'm going to stick with the flash hider. You don't need to spend the 30 points on the suppressor. Go with the light. I'm going to go with the green laser. I'm going to come down here for the slim angled. Now, yes, it does come with this 15-point factory angled. If we look over here, the slim gives us an additional bit of mobility, which is your movement speed while ADS'd. And realistically, you don't have anything else that you could possibly spend those 10 points on. There aren't any other barrel mods, so hope you enjoy the one you got. It does come with the 3 variants of ammo. For most of the time, you're just going to go ahead and use buckshot, and then you have your sight of choice. If for whatever reason you don't like the default iron sights. I would say enjoy, but you won't. Yes, you could do slugs. So let's see what this does. Oh, that was fun. It just completely missed the 10-meter target and completely missed that one. But, again, this is slugs, so let's actually ADS, shall we? Oh, look. A double tap goes to 86 damage. I can't really see any reason to use this. Up close, yeah, you're going to get a double tap. You're going to get that with buckshot anyway. So again, just stick with the XM. I really don't see a reason to ever bring this out unless you're just memeing. And even so, there's better ways to do that. I don't know, maybe I'll start running a cursed gun setup series on the channel. Do like a 4X and slugs on this thing. That would be dumb. Right, so coming over to the new Revolver. So you might think, okay, Revolver, that'll be like the M44, but a little bit different. And you're half right. The weapon I would say this is the closest to is actually the M45. So if you're a fan of that one, you'll like this. The M357 here, what I would recommend you use would be your choice of sight. You only have the basic barrel, but the nifty thing is you can put on lasers, or in my case, the laser light combo, which takes us all the way up to a 77 hip fire, which is very nice. Now you could instead go with the green laser if you wanted to, take that up to 80, but the flashlight, in addition to providing the flashlighty blinding effects, does prevent your overall hipfire bloom from progressing. I talked about that in the SGX video I posted a while ago. It'll be down somewhere. You got the 8-round fast mag speed loader. So in terms of ammo, you have standard, penetration, frangible. Realistically, you're going to stick with standard. Hollow points on one hand sound nifty, especially since the hollow points on the M44 let you one-shot headshot all the way out to 20 meters. However, because math, the basic 1.5x multiplier on your headshot damage in your first damaged zone would take this to 75. Now, if you put on the hollow points for 20 points here, that'll take you up to 1.75, which is, I think, 87.5. So even with the best case scenario and leaning into the hollow points, you're not going to be one-tapping people to the head. So where this thing really is going to come into its own isn't with those, within 20 meter one-shot headshots, because as you just saw, you can't. And it has its first damage fall-off range at 5 meters. So even out at this 10 meter range, we're looking at a 3-shot body shot. Now, that said, within 5 meters, that drops down to 2-shot. And that's assuming the enemy isn't damaged at all. So within that 5 meter range, it does have one of the fastest body shot time to kills. Now, I make that distinction not because you're not going to be aiming for headshots, blah, 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 blah. Well, yes, you should always be aiming for headshots. And at the same time, I'm a fan of people knowing themselves. And not all of us are going to be able to consistently flick over to a head while we're getting shot at. And you're like, oh no, I'm getting shot, move. No, fight or flight's going to kick in at some point and your aim's not going to be great. Especially if you lean a bit more anxious than most. So what this thing's really going to do well is cleanup. So let's say you're sniping, right? Oh no, there's somebody right in front of you. You're going to pull this out and put 2 straight into anywhere that's not their head. And if they're right up on you, they are going to die. And even out to 10 meters, figure you wing the guy with your sniper for 60, 70 damage, and you turn around, you hit him for 38 with 1 shot. Well, if you hit him for 70, that guy's now dead. If you hit him for 60, well, you need to hit him twice. Congratulations. A lot of people are going to say the 357 is just bad. And yes, if you can consistently hit your headshots, it is. Not everybody's gonna. For the people who aren't necessarily at that level of skill, don't want to try hard, or realistically just want to panic spam at somebody who's up in their face, this will work. Because the per bullet damage is significantly higher than the other pistols, and its rate of fire is a nice halfway point between your M44's 163 and the M45's 327. Between the two weapons we got, the M357 is good if you're a person who can't consistently hit headshots. The shotgun, on the other hand, I can't recommend anybody in good faith grind out the California Resistance Battle Pass just to get this. If you get it, cool. If you don't, well, you're just missing out on a weapon that's worse than anything that you already have. If you've already leveled the XM, or you're already really good with the pump, there's really no reason for you to spend the time to level the DB12. And as I was playing, trying to farm clips for the background of this video, this was perhaps the least enjoyable experience I have had in Battlefield since release. If you're going to use a shotgun that does shotgunning well. And the entire point to it is to point, click, delete. This doesn't do that. Hopefully I've saved you a little bit of headache and grind. I've been Bald Squid. I'll see you all next time.